Please. Thank you, madam. So, starting with the plant tissues, and like I said, you already know this basic classification of plant tissues. It is generally divided into two types, that is meristematic and permanent. Now, this is just the type of the cells which has over the time differentiated. Differentiated means it was originally one cell type, and along its lifetime, it has changed into something else. So, for example, if I have to give analogy, we are in the mother's body when we are like before we are even born, we are a small mass of cells, and then we grow into a fetus, then into a baby stage, and the same individual grows into adult stage. Same person going through different stage. It is the same case with the plant tissues. It is one cell which was earlier meristematic has developed into permanent tissue over the lifetime of a plant. In this case of plant, I am talking of one cell. When I gave an analogy, I was talking of the whole individual, which are multiple cells. Yeah. So understand the difference there as well. So meristematic tissue is nothing but the dividing cell, and the permanent tissue is nothing but non-dividing cells. Now, can someone tell me what does it mean by dividing and non-dividing cells? And I will ask questions about it over and over. Yeah. And if no one speaks, I will choose. Okay, Ishan.
Like dividing cells divide using mitosis, and non-dividing cells don't divide. They just stay as they are. And if they die, dividing cells divide and divide into those non-dividing cells.
Okay. But then what does it imply? What does it mean that dividing or the meristematic cells divide? What does it happen later? Okay, Shiv.
Maybe in order to produce like new cells and grow.
Yeah, exactly. Most important, growth. Anything else that you know of?
Healing.
Yeah, say it. I hope you're
Healing. Healing.
okay. What is this?
Healing, he's saying.
He's saying healing.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that is right as well. But that is again a rare response, because not always the healing has to happen. You can call it also a repair mechanism, but that means something some injury has to happen before. So that is one type of response, but it is a rare one. So when we talk of dividing and non-dividing cell, what it means is it is a growing part of the plant which will have most of the dividing cell, and the non-growing part of the plant, it will have the permanent cells or the permanent tissues. Now again, when I say growing part, it is obviously what comes to your mind should be the leaf or the branches and stuff, but the stem is not actually growing. It is just increasing the layer of the cells which are permanent tissues, and that is why I said it is not actually growing. It is just adding a layer of cells. When we say something is growing, that is increasing the number of living cells, right? That is what actually growth is. But in case of permanent tissue, that may not be the case, and that is what is the major difference between meristematic and permanent tissues. Now, and this fact I already explained in terms of the description. If you look at again, Ovi Khemani, is she in this class?
Yeah.
Okay. Why people? Maybe I can talk to them later. So when we look at this particular plant, in the earlier stage, let's say you have just sowed a seed, like you have put a seed in the soil, and the seed starts sprouting, right? Everyone knows what a sprout is. That sprout will have the meristematic tissue, all the meristematic tissue. Same meristematic tissue, they will be present at the tip, and not only the tip, but at the growing parts. So that is they are meristematic tissue. And let's say this bark of the tree, or not only bark, but the stem of the tree has grown sufficiently over the time, let's say a year old or 2 year old. This particular tissue, which was originally meristematic, is getting converted into permanent tissue over the time, over the growth of the plant. Yeah, it's just same set of tissue converting into from meristematic to the permanent one. So that is one of the major difference between meristematic tissue and the permanent tissue. Again, the basic characteristics, I need not do it. This has already been covered by Prat. So these are a few characteristics that you can look it for as a revision for yourself. Now, here is the most interesting part of the meristematic tissue. There are two types. You might have heard three types, and which is still okay. I will say why there are three types as well, or why I'm calling it two types. So there are two types, that is apical meristem or apical meristematic tissue, and cambium or lateral meristematic tissue. Now, does anyone know what a cambium is? Or shall I pick up the volunteer to speak? Anyone? What is cambium? Ananya, what do you think?
I'm not
Oh,
sure.
there are two Ananyas. Okay, fine. Go ahead, Ananya. Yes, say it, say it.
Not really sure.
Do you
But
know?
I guess it's the inner part, the internal, like the
Everything
tissue in
internal
the
plant? Okay, the other Ananya, Ananya Zogulekar. Can you say what do you know of cambium? Okay, we can't hear you. At least I can't hear you, I must say, if you are trying to speak.
Sir, I'm saying I'm not sure.
Okay, fine. Pratham,
Yeah, sir.
yes. Can you tell me what is cambium, or what do you know of cambium?
I don't know anything about cambium.
Okay, anyone knows about this word cambium? Or in the last, when Pradnya took it, had she introduced you to this term? Okay,
No.
okay, fine, no problem. So then let me go to one of the diagram. Where is it? Yeah, here. So
Sir,
yes,
cambium is another word for lateral, right?
another word for
Lateral. No?
no.
Akka, can you, sir, can you go to the previous slide? The one you were just showing?
Here.
Yeah, so it says cambium or lateral meristem.
No, but it doesn't literally translate to that. I will tell you why it is saying so, or lateral. So let me explain what cambium is. You would understand that part probably automatically. So when we say a plant had just started sprouting, so when this plant was a baby plant and it was just like this tall, probably up to this box thing, right? So then it will not have different tissues, right? It will have all the meristematic tissue. Now let's say over the time it grows this big, which is shown in the diagram, and you have certain type of meristematic tissue getting converted into some type of permanent tissue. Now within that also there are several other types. One of the type of cell is called as cambium. Now where all is this cambium located? So it is located throughout the vascular bundle structure. And like if you know xylem and phloem, you would know what vascular bundle is. It's nothing but the transport unit of the plant. Like we have circulatory system which allows the blood to flow throughout the body. So this vascular bundle structure or xylem and phloem structure is nothing but the circulatory system of the plant. Analogy wise they are very similar, just they don't have heart and they don't pump blood in it. But analogy wise, tubular structure is the vascular bundle or xylem or phloem. Now, when this branch has to form, like let's say when the plant is growing and this branch and this branch and this branch has to form, it does not form from the outermost layer, right? Outermost will be bark, right? Which you can see here. This is the stem, which is cut into a slice, and it is being observed under microscope. And these are the structures that you see, but you need not go into that much detail. So this is the outermost part, and what we would imagine normally is that the branch is forming from this tissue, but it doesn't. It is the cambium. Now, if you see this line in between each of this oval structure, kind of purple or blue line that you see here, that is cambium. It is a typical type of cell which will give rise to the secondary structure as in the lateral branching. So that is why cambium is also called as lateral there, because cambium is the one which will give rise to the branching points of what you say, a stem or so. And something similar is also called intercalary. So I hope you know what cambium is now. Where is it?
So does cambium become the new layer, or does it?
So
like-
cambium becomes what?
So I didn't understand whether cambium becomes the new layer or does it make the new layer.
So, like when this sprout happens, what comes out is the meristematic tissue, right? One cell which was present at that sprouting point, or let's say it was the zygote, or it was the fusion of that male and female gamete. So that particular cell has become one cell become two cell, two becomes four, and so on. And then this sprout comes out, right? That is the group of cells growing in certain manner, right? Something similar happens with that cambium as well. So when this cambium is present in those vascular bundle, which is a part of the older part of tissue in the plant. So this is stem is older because it has grown to some extent, it has lived some life. So I call it older tissue, and it will have this cambium cells. Now these cambium cells will start growing outward, right? Some of the cells, they will multiply. Again, one cell will become 2, 2, 4, and so on. They start growing and they will make a sprout here, right, at this branching point, and then it will grow as another branch. Same will happen here. It will make a sprout here and then it will make another branch, right? So that is how the cambium functions. So like exactly when the sprout comes out from a seed, something similar happens from the cambium structure as well, but at the lateral point as in when the branching has to start. Does that make it clear?
So the cambium cell helps in branching of the stem.
Cambium cells have branching.
So cambium cells help in the branching of the stem.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, means there has to be some tissue or some cell within the plant which will allow the lateral growth or the branching points. That's what is lateral growth, or it's also called as secondary growth, because primary growth is like along the axis of the plant, and secondary growth will be from this primary axis, whatever structures are coming out. So that is the secondary growth. I assume all of you are clear with this cambium, and that is why I don't know who said it. So the cambium is also called as lateral meristem, because it gives rise to the lateral part of the tissues later. So that is the apical meristem and cambium meristem. And the third type that you might have learned about is the intercalary. But intercalary is again a branching point, or what we call as a node, and which is again same as the cambium or lateral. It just it is like in plant biology, we say it differently in the sense like it is whether intercalary or it is a branching point. Intercalary refers to specific nodes. Like if you know, if you put the branch of the rose plant, right? Not everywhere it will start sprouting. There are specific nodes which are present on that branch of the rose from where the new branch will come out. Or if you have seen sugarcane, in sugarcane the nodes are very clearly visible, right? Those round ring-like structures. Those are called as nodes from where the new leaf grows. So these are the node structure. So that is why cambium, lateral, secondary, as well as this node or intercalary, they all mean the same thing because they ultimately give rise to the similar structure. So,
Sir, even bamboo.
yeah, bamboo as well. But then in case of bamboo, the branching does not happen. Nodes are there, intercalary meristem would be there, but branching rarely happens,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
So that may not, there may not be, or there may be very less of cambium tissue as such. And always it depends on plant to plant type. How much of the cambium is present in that particular cell. Actually, bamboo totally falls into different types of plants. So it may not have this regular structure in terms of cellular arrangement. Okay, so this is all about the meristematic tissue. I just wanted to talk about this cambium and so on. This part you can revise on your own. Again, we have discussed some of the topics from or the points from here, and you have learned it earlier as well. Now coming to the permanent tissue. Again, permanent tissue majorly of two type, and like I said earlier, permanent tissue in the earlier version were nothing but the meristematic tissue. When the meristematic tissue grows old, they are forming the permanent tissue. That means your meristematic tissue, like the sprouts, it's ultimately like a cell differentiation process. Like, for example, if I have to again give the same analogy in case of human embryo, right? We are developed from a fusion of a sperm and ovum, right? From male body, the sperm is like deposited and it fuses with the ova. It forms one single cell. Then it grows further. Then it forms a brain cell, and then it forms a liver cell, and then it forms a leg cell and skin cell and so on. Like several other types. Same way, meristematic tissue, these are the earlier versions of the permanent tissue. And from meristematic, you come to permanent tissue. And then there are two types of this permanent tissue. One is simple permanent and complex permanent. In simple permanent, you have parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. And for complex permanent, you have xylem and phloem tissue. Xylem and phloem or the complex permanent, these are nothing but your vascular structure of the plant, and these are the bulk structure of the plant. Bulk as in whatever layers of the plants are there, these type of cells or tissues are present in those layers. Okay, maybe why like again I will ask the question because I like that probably. Can someone tell me what is parenchyma? You have already studied it enough, so why doesn't someone tell me now? Let me ask. Amrita, are you there?
Me?
Yes, you.
Collenchyma or parenchyma?
Parenchyma.
It's a type of permanent tissue
Mhm.
and it can't divide.
Okay, but
Yeah,
that
I don't remember. I took notes, but I don't remember.
okay. Maybe you can look at the notes and tell me as well. It's okay if you have them or someone else.
Yeah, it says It provides support to plants and also stores food.
You are talking of parenchyma.
Yeah, that's what you said, right?
Okay, fine. Siddharth. Mr. Siddharth, are you there? He has disappeared from the class. I feel so. Okay, Ashi.
It's a supporting tissue.
Not really. It's the main function of parenchyma is not support. Means, like, in a way you are right. That is one of the function, but when we talk of parenchyma, that shouldn't be something that comes to your mind first, at least. Ruhani.
I don't.
Okay, does anyone? Okay, let me say it, I guess.
Wait, it has intercellular space and a vacuole.
Yeah, but then what is the function?
It stores the food.
Storage.
Yeah, storage, but before storage, there has to be something. You know what plants do very well.
Photosynthesize.
Exactly.
Oh, okay.
Exactly. so parenchyma is most important in the plants, and the reason being because it synthesizes the food and then it stores the food, and then the time, if the time is left, then it will support the tissue. So that is what is the story of parenchyma. So parenchyma in general is metabolically very active cell. Metabolically active, that means it will do all the functions of biochemistry, like synthesizing glucose, breaking glucose, making energy, putting it through mitochondrial structure, and so on. All these metabolic processes, that all of them will happen in parent. Sorry.
So, in the previous this thing, what Pradnyaka had given us, it was written in there that I had written it down in my notebook that the parenchyma tissues allow aquatic plants to float by making them buoyant.
Sorry, come again. Parenchyma allows.
In aquatic plants, these tissues allow them to stay afloat, like to float on water by making them buoyant.
Correct. That is the case with the aquatic plants only. When we talk of plants in general, parenchyma has a function of photosynthesis first. And again, if you go to aquatic plants, there also they will perform the function of photosynthesis. And the second function is because of the vacuole or void-like structure present in parenchyma.
What she had written was chloronchyma is a special type of parenchyma that helps in photosynthesis. Arenchyma is a special type of parenchyma that allows the aquatic plants to stay afloat.
Okay, so now let me clarify this a bit. Parenchyma is one type of tissue, right? Within parenchyma tissue, there will be cells which are having chlorophyll. Almost most of the parenchyma cell, they have it until and unless they are into deeper layer of the leaf or deeper layers of the stems. So for example, I'll go back to the same diagram which I had shown you earlier. That is this one. Let's assume that this is the leaf which is section. You can see the leaf section being shown here. If the leaf is standing, you take a thin slice of that leaf and you see this kind of structure. So along the edge, you have something called as epidermis, nothing but the outer layer, right? And this yellow thing that is shown in between is all parenchyma. Now, within this all of the parenchyma cells, there will be certain cells which will have your chlorophyll, and they are nothing but the chlorenchyma. Parenchyma having chlorophyll pigment, is chlorenchyma, right? But rest of the parenchyma cells which does not have chlorophyll, they are still called as regular parenchyma, and those cells are also equally metabolically active. So the function of parenchyma in general as a whole category is like obviously actively metabolically highly active cells. So if there is a chlorophyll present, they will perform the function of photosynthesis, and they are specifically called chlorenchyma. And in case of aquatic plant, they will again do a function of photosynthesis. But if there are some parenchyma cells with those big air spaces within the parenchyma cells, or like surrounding the parenchyma cells, they will be called as aerenchyma. So, and that's what make the aquatic plant float. So I hope this difference is clear. She is right, as she has correctly said it to you. That is perfectly fine, but it is all within the bigger umbrella called as parenchyma. And then one type of cell is chlorenchyma in regular plants, and in aquatic plants, what is there with these air cavities, that is the aerenchyma. Okay, so I hope this part is clear. And actually, like I don't know if you have even thought about this, but let's say there the plant stores food, but what is the food for plant? It is starch. Now, how is the starch generated? Let's say a plant does the function of photosynthesis. In photosynthesis, it only synthesizes glucose. So how can we call starch as the food then? Can someone explain this?
Like glucose, they put together many glucose molecules and they make starch. No,
Correct.
mitochondria.
Right. So when we put lot of glucose molecule together, it forms starch, which is nothing but the polymer of glucose, right? So that is how it stores the food in this parenchyma, and this is appearing inside the parenchyma as starch granules. That is, when we draw a plant cells, we draw those dot within the plant cell, within the cytoplasm of the plant cell, and we label it starch granules. But what those starch granules are? They are nothing but the glucose polymers that is in the process of photosynthesis. And when there is excess of glucose being synthesized and plant cell does not need it, so that will get converted into starch, and that will be stored as starch granules. So that is all about the parenchyma. Then cholenchyma. Now cholenchyma is again nothing but, so we had seen meristematic tissue was the earlier type of tissue. It becomes permanent tissue. That means your meristematic tissue will first convert into parenchyma. When it has grown sufficiently, or when it grows older, it will convert into cholenchyma. But again, the ones without chlorophyll. And then cholenchyma will become into sclerenchyma. So this is like a division, like I said about the fetus, then child, then adult, and then Buddha, right? The geriatric phase. So that way, it's something similar in case of plant cell or plant tissues as well. So after parenchyma, there will be formation of the cholenchyma, which are nothing but the older parenchyma cells. So these are like just the difference between parenchyma, cholenchyma, and sclerenchyma is based on their cell wall and the function. I guess I have this diagram to show you in a better way. Correct. So again, there are two types of sections which are shown here. Yeah. If it is getting complicated, please stop me and please do ask the questions, but I will go on otherwise. Yeah. So if you look at the sections, there are two types of section in this diagram. That is the first part of the diagram: cross section and longitudinal section. Longitudinal section, that means if you cut me from head to toes, that will be my longitudinal section. And section is again a thin slice. Yeah, you don't just cut, but you take a thin slice from that particular layer. And cross section is like, let's say if you cut me horizontal, that is the cross section. So horizontal section is your cross section, vertical section is your longitudinal section. So when you take a section of a plant, especially bark or the stem part, what you see is these parenchyma cells, and they are nothing but the elongated rectangular or cuboidal type of cells, which has quite a lot of like cells together, joined very tightly with each other, right? Not very tightly, sorry, very loosely with each other. I'm saying exactly opposite. So when these parenchyma cells are there, there are quite a few gaps in between the parenchyma cells, and that's why they are also called as spongy parenchyma, because they are like a sponge, right? Not literally in terms of their texture, but in terms of their arrangement of the cell, because they have certain intracellular spaces, that is the space within the cell is quite good. So what you show here, what you see here is the longitudinal section, and if you cross them horizontally, that's what will give you this type of arrangement that is shown in the cross section. Similarly, now if you come to collenchyma, if you observe carefully, the gap between the spaces between the cell has reduced. So there is very little gap or almost no gap between collenchyma cells and between parenchyma cells. So that is the structural arrangement, otherwise remains the same. These are thin walled. If you look, there is only one layer. And if you see here, there is a extra layer of the cell wall, which we will see later sometime. So that is how the arrangement is. And again, if you look at the sclerenchyma, the gap between the cell is zero. There is no gap at all. So they are very tightly arranged next to each other, and their cell wall is also even more thicker. So here cell wall is thin, it is little thicker, and this is thickest cell wall. Cell gap between the cells is more, cell gap reduces even further. So that is how the arrangement is of this parenchyma, collenchyma, sclerenchyma is. Now if you look at their function or think about their function, these are metabolically active parenchyma. They are doing the function of photosynthesis. These are metabolically less active, and they do more of support function. And these are metabolically zero active. That means they don't do any metabolism. They are just supporting tissue. So across from parenchyma to collenchyma to sclerenchyma, metabolism decreases from high to zero, and support increases from almost less to complete. Yeah, so these are the main functions or main distinctions between these three different types of tissue, that is parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. Okay, now let me ask, do you have any questions here? Though this was a kind of revision, I hope it did not go all over the head, whatever I was trying to say, and everyone is still with me and fine.
Sir, in the slide that you're on right now, in the sclerenchyma, there's this thing lumen. I didn't understand that. It was in the previous diagram, the spiky thing.
Oh, this one?
No, the one under that, the spiky thing.
This one?
Yeah.
Okay, so what usually happens is, lumen is nothing but the like, let's say for example, you know, a water pipe or a tube like structure, right? So that inner empty part of the tube is called as lumen. In biology, we have so many tubular structure. For example, intestine, or the esophagus, or trachea, or in like stomach, and so on. So they have these inner cavities, and those inner cavities, they are called as lumen. Now when we talk of these cells, they are elongated tubular cells, right? And when they are tubular cells, they And over this time, from parenchyma to sclerenchyma transition, because these are no metabolically zero active cells, the cytoplasm may or may not remain intact, and that will form a cavity like structure, which is nothing but the lumen of these cells.
Okay.
So could you repeat the last part?
So what I said is, when the parenchyma cells, they starts getting converted over the longer period of time into the sclerenchyma, which is like almost metabolically zero active cell, that the internal part of the cytoplasm does not remain intact, and it creates a void or the space within the cells, and that is what is the lumen.
Okay.
Okay, does anyone else have any other question? So again, for your description, I have collected all the different notes for parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma, and this is what Pradnya had written. So I have just collated on these slides, so you have information at one place. So this all are written by Pradnya, that is collenchyma and sclerenchyma. Again, I'm not going into what does sclero means, because I guess Pradnya has already covered that. Same is here, what cola means and so on. So the basic description, you can find it here of this tissue, and I'm not going in detail because it has been covered by her. So that is these three different types of tissue. Again, with respect to the similarity and differences, I have like collated that information into a tabular format so that it's easier for you to access it. You can go over this on your own. I will not be talking about this in the class. Okay, I guess what we can do here is we can stop here in the next class, because I know Pradnya has not covered the xylem and phloem to that much of the depth. We will be talking about it in the depth, because I assume Pradnya has not spoken about the components of xylem and phloem. Did she?
No.
Huh.
No.
Then we will be talking about these different components.
We talked about the I forgot the name, the thing which has the holes in it.
You mean the in xylem and phloem, the
Yeah.
transverse septum or the sieve plates and so on?
Yeah.
Okay, so but yeah, anyway, the other structures we need to see. So we'll be looking at all these structures in the next class. As of now, I guess